too many blueberries on it. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are out foraging for berries. So the state of Alaska has a ton of different wild berry species that grow here, and we actually have come across quite a few of those species. So today we are out here picking Alaska's blueberries, which are also known as bilberries. We're picking watermelon berries, and we're also looking for red currants. And if we come across any other edible berries in the area, then we'll go ahead and pick those too. This is actually a watermelon berry. It grows on twisted stalk. Now you can forage and eat twisted stalk in the shoot stage in the spring, but we decided to forego doing that this year so we could try out the watermelon berries. So these are currants, and it's one of the things that we're looking for. I plan to make some jelly out of them. Apparently they are really high in pectin, and you don't need to add additional pectin, so we figured we wanted to give that a try. It's a bit squishy. These are literally some of the biggest mushrooms I've ever seen. So there's a couple of berries that we're not going to be harvesting today. And one of those is cranberries. It's just not quite time for cranberries to come out yet, and they're best later in the fall and after the first frost. The other type of berry are crowberries. So they are found on like this green carpet type plant, and we have so many of them around us right now. But I've heard they're kind of bitter to eat raw, so that you want to cook them, and they're better after either the first frost or after freezing them. So I think we're gonna wait a little bit to pick some crowberries. I'm not sure, we might decide to try some out, but we'll have to throw them in the freezer before we cook them up. That is a massive stump.
These ones are really ripe. Look at them. It's actually big. Wow, that one's really sweet. It's good. Tastes like you're eating watermelon. Uh-oh. These are really ripe. They're good.
Oh my gosh, those are so ripe. this bush is like extremely loaded. Did you see that?
Yeah, it is.
And they're so sweet. Try one. Was that one sweet?
It is good.
Oh, something like crushed a whole bunch, like a whole side of these right here. On this. You see that? Something like crushed or ate a whole bunch of them.
That thing's loaded.
Yeah. All these currants. Oh, I dropped one. Oh my gosh, that thing's huge.
They're like grapes.
Wow. So I believe these are called bunch berries. They aren't in my book, but from what I've read, that's what I'm coming up with what they are. They are edible, but some people say that they are pretty bitter or they don't taste well. Some people like them. We aren't going to pick those today because I'm not 100% sure, but we are going to stick with the watermelon berries and blueberries and currants.
These watermelon berries are really hard to see. The leaves almost hide them. They like dangle perfectly under them so that birds can't see them from above. They're like just out of sight.
There's a big mushroom down here.
Try out these crowberries here. Apparently they're no good unless if they're frozen, but they're actually not bad. Like, they're a little bitter, but I could eat them as a snack.
Something that I found super interesting about these crowberries that I read is that down where we are on the Kenai Peninsula, you have to have male plants and female plants to be able to produce fruit. But once you get up north past Anchorage, the plants are bisexual and they all produce fruit. So down here, not all of our crowberries produce fruit, and up north, they all do. So I'm gonna try one. Chris was brave enough to try one, so let me see if I can find a good one. That is so gross. It's so bitter. Ugh.
I
Yeah,
didn't think they were that bad.
I'm definitely waiting until the first frost, or we're gonna freeze some. This is a nice big juicy one. It is so sweet and so good. I missed fresh blueberries so much. Mm-hmm. This bush is so full.
I'm gonna try them.
That was a whole lot of blueberries.
Oh my god, they are so good. They are really sweet.
Yeah. This bush has some really good ones.
I kind of just want to eat them all. Wow, those are really good.
So right now we are actually in like our muskeg area of the property, and the creek is a little backed up, so it's creating a lot of swampy area. You can actually hear like under our feet. It sounds pretty soft. There's a lot of water under the moss layer. And when we got down here, we actually found different type of berry, and these are called cloudberries. In some areas of the state, these are called salmon berries. We do have another type of berry called a salmon berry, and these are supposed to taste like custard. So we're super excited to try these. We were looking a couple weeks ago for these, and they hadn't come out yet, so we really thought that we didn't have any, but we didn't look down here in the muskeg. So we're super excited about that. We're going to give them a little bit of time to ripen up, but we are excited to try those. Up where we're building our cabin and up by the RV in the clearing, there are no mosquitoes anymore. They are gone, but they are just all over the place down here where this water is just settling under the moss.
Yeah, this one looks really right. Let's try it. Ooh, that looks nice. Does not taste like what you would think it would. Tastes good. It's custardy. They're good. I could, like, if you made a pie out of that or something, I don't know, it'd be really good.
There wasn't a lot of ripe ones, but we found a couple, so I'm gonna go ahead and try one now. It does taste like custard. Like, that's so weird. It doesn't taste like a berry at all. I can't wait to make some type of custard with that on top. It would just make an incredible dessert. So we actually got a pretty decent harvest tonight. We've only foraged roughly 25% of our property so far, and we are gonna head in for the night. The bugs are getting bad. It's about 10 o'clock and we haven't eaten dinner yet, so we're gonna head inside and do that. And we will be back out tomorrow to do some more foraging, explore the rest of the property, and to process all of our berries that we got. Good morning. We are back out here this morning picking some berries. We went in last night at like about 10 o'clock and we got a pretty decent harvest, but we had only touched on about 20 to 25% of our property and we had just pretty much skimmed our hillside. So this morning we're going to go to the other side of the hill that we hadn't touched yesterday, and then we're going to head across to our muskeg to the other side and see if there's any berries over there.
There's a load of them here.
bush isn't that pretty, but the fruit is like ready to be harvested. Ooh, just got water up my leg. But this hillside is just absolutely loaded with watermelon berries. We're on the other side of our muskeg right now, and there are just hundreds of watermelon berry plants. Look how big this mushroom is compared to my hand, both of my hands. Holy cow. That thing is huge. This tree is like super odd. So it's got two birch trees coming out of the stump, and then about 6 pine trees coming out of it as well. And it's all like one big stump. It's even got a neat looking burl on it.
So we found this really big spring box or artesian well or whatever you want to call this thing. But it's got like old wood framing down in it and stuff just floating in there. It looks like a swamp now, but I don't know if maybe some homesteaders use this as like a bathtub or something. Or maybe they got their water from here. I have no idea. It's pretty crazy looking though. It looks like it's been here for 50 years.
Don't pull a me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think it's deeper than my boot. Yeah, I can't touch the bottom. I feel like we need to cover this up so we don't fall in it in the wintertime.
Yeah.
That would really suck. Like, we walked all through here when this was covered in snow and never knew this was here. I mean, it might freeze over, but...
I just think it's funny how there's blueberries growing over the swampy box.
Yeah, it's wild. So there's like 4 of these dead spruce trees on this property that are about this big. Like, I really want to know how old these were. I mean, they are just massive trees. Nobody cut them down. They actually died of old age or maybe some type of blight or something or disease. I don't know. But you can see it actually fell down there. Broke in half. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'd love to have seen them alive.
Well, it started to rain on us a little bit, but I am super excited because we came across another very full blueberry bush. Those blueberries are so sweet. My hands are turning blue. Gosh, I cannot believe how big some of these blueberries are. For this being a wild berry plant, like some of them are huge. So on the other side of the property, we were on the other side of the muskeg, and we found a ton of watermelon berries, but there were 0 blueberries. There were a couple of plants that were very mature blueberry plants, but they had 0 blueberries on them. So I don't know if it was the shade, and this just gets a lot of direct sunlight, especially early in the morning, but this side of the hill, the blueberry bushes that we've found over here have had a ton of blueberries on them. Like eating pomegranate. They're not very good by themselves, I don't think, but I bet they'll make really good jelly. Alright, well, it's raining on us. The mosquitoes are getting kind of bad, and I think we found quite a bit of berries, so we're going to head on back and we are going to make up some desserts and some jelly. So we got all of our berries washed and separated. It took a couple of hours with both of us doing it to get all the stems out and the leaves out and to get them all washed and ready to go. So now we are going to start making some jelly. So the first one I'm doing is a currant jam, and there's only 2 ingredients in this, which is awesome. I've never made currant jam before, but apparently there's so much pectin naturally occurring in currants that you don't have to use gelatin or pectin, so we're going to go ahead and give it a try. Alright, so we've got 1.389 pounds of currants. So with 1.3 pounds, the recipe that I am using is calling for a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar and currants. I'm going to use just a little bit less and try that first because I don't want it overly sweet because the currants are already slightly sweet. And the recipe did say to add just a little bit of water just so they don't scorch the bottom. So we're going to let those heat up and then we'll add our sugar. The currants are simmering, so I'm going to go ahead and add the sugar. I went with about 3/4 of a pound of sugar. I have a little over a pound of currants in here. And at this point, it should only take about 5 more minutes until the currants are done. The jam is done. You don't want to overcook it or else it'll get really hard once it cools. So I'm hoping it does firm up some once it cools, but for now we're going to go ahead and jar it. This smells really good. Almost 2 jars. Oh my gosh. That is like sickening sweet. It is so good. The currants taste absolutely nothing like that when they're fresh, but once they're heated up with the sugar, they are amazing. So we're going to see how many watermelon berries we got. I think we were both probably pretty surprised at how many watermelon berry plants there were on this property. So we thought that there was going to be a ton of blueberry plants, which there were, but there were probably 4 times as many or more watermelon berries available to us. So we have a whole bunch of those. First bag. Just over 4 pounds in this bowl. Then we've got 1.4 pounds on that plate. And we've got 1.1 pounds on this plate. So we've got about 6.5 pounds of watermelon berries. We're going to make a lot of watermelon berry jelly. So I have a recipe that I found online, and it uses 5.5 cups of watermelon berries. We have our 5.5 cups, and we are going to bring those along with a 1/2 cup of water to a boil. The watermelon berries are boiling, so now we have to reduce that to about 50%, which takes about a 1/2 hour of simmering. The watermelon berries are reduced to about 50%. It's been about 30 minutes, so we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. So I have a 1/4 cup of honey. This recipe does not call for sugar. We have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 2 tablespoons of pectin. We're going to bring that back to a boil, and then we'll go ahead and put it in the jars. It's not bad, but it's not my favorite. I think when I process the rest of the watermelon berries, I'm going to use a different recipe. This one has a lot of honey flavor, and I like honey, but not that much. For it to have a really strong honey flavor, I think I'd rather do something with regular sugar in it. We're going to start reducing these for another recipe and see how that turns out. I'm going to do, instead of 5 cups of watermelon berries this time, I'm going to do 10. For 10 cups of berries, I will add 1 cup of water. We've got the second set of watermelon berries reduced down. It's been about maybe 45 minutes or so, but it's reduced down to 50%. So we're going to go ahead and add our other ingredients. I did not have a specific recipe for this one. I'm following a blueberry recipe, and I reduced the watermelon berries down a little bit further than what the original recipe called for. I'm going to add in several cups of sugar. I'm kind of going to do this to taste because we don't want overly sweet, but the watermelon berries aren't that sweet, so we'll see how it tastes. I did 5 cups of sugar, and we're going to do 2.5 packs of pectin. And 5 tablespoons of lemon juice. It's already starting to thicken up a little bit. And we're going to bring this back to a boil, and then we'll go ahead and put it in our jars. all of our jams are done. They look absolutely beautiful. We're super excited to try these out on some bread. Now, something about our jams is, one, we decided to use the whole fruit in our jam rather than making a juice-based jelly. So there are seeds in both the currant jam and the watermelon berry jam. If you prefer to not have seeds, that's fine. You can always pulverize them and then use a sieve to separate the juice, but we prefer to have our jam like this. We're gonna let this set, and we're gonna get started on the last dessert that I'm making, and that's with our blueberries. 2.3 pounds of blueberries, and that's not including all the ones that we ate along the way while we were picking them. What I'm making today is a blueberry mascarpone dessert. This is something that I've made for several years now, but I just haven't made it in a while. So I don't really have exact measurements for this recipe, but we're going to see how it turns out. First thing I'm going to do is melt about 2.5 tablespoons of butter for our graham cracker crust. While the butter is melting, I'm going to go ahead and crush up our graham crackers for our crust. I used about a sleeve of graham crackers. So I'm not adding sugar to the crust. You can if you want to. I think that graham crackers are sweet enough, so we're not going to add any additional sugar to those. And you can pour those right into the bottom of whatever dish you're using for that. And I'm going to add in the melted butter. Next, we're going to add in our mascarpone. So this is what we had here. And I let mine sit out to room temperature for a little while so it's easier to mix. And I also am going to add just a little bit of heavy cream. It helps make it a little more fluffy and a little less dense. And I'm going to add a couple of spoonfuls of powdered sugar. You can add as much or as little as you want for your desired sweetness. And I'm going to mix that in. And while I'm mixing this, I'm going to take some blueberries and heat them up so that way it creates a syrup. While that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and stir this in. You can use a mixer as well, but if the cheese is room temperature, you really don't need a mixer. And it should have a pretty liquidy consistency, not too liquidy, but enough to where you can easily work it. And I'm just going to pour it right over this crust. And that's what you want, is a nice liquidy juice from them, because that is your blueberry syrup. So we're going to just let those go a little bit longer. You can add sugar to these if you want as well, but these are very naturally sweet, so we are not going to add sugar to them. Alright, now that can go in the fridge for a little while to set, and then it's ready to eat. So the first one we're going to try is the currant jam.
Okay. That's what this one is?
Mm-hmm. That one's really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one. Currants have like a really, to me, they don't taste sweet at all. Fresh. But that is really, really sweet.
Yeah, I wish we could find more currants to make more of that. That's really good.
That is really good. This is the first watermelon berry jam that I tried. This was the honey-based one. This one's good, but it just tastes like pure honey to me.
Yeah, I like it too. It's just, the honey overpowers the watermelon flavor.
Yeah. This one's the last watermelon berry jam that I made. This one I based off of a blueberry jam recipe, so it's just got sugar instead of honey. That one's really sweet.
Yeah.
It probably could have done less than 5 cups of sugar. It's really sweet.
It doesn't taste anything like the berries do raw. But it has its own unique flavor for sure. And it's not overpowered by the honey.
So the berries raw don't really taste like much, but there's like a watermelon hint in them.
It tastes like a watermelon rind.
Yeah.
To me.
But this doesn't taste like watermelon at all. I was kind of expecting a watermelon flavor.
It's really good though.
Which one's your favorite?
The currant spread and the spread made from the watermelon berry with sugar is actually both really good.
Yeah, they're pretty comparable.
Yeah, I'd eat either.
Yep. I probably won't make the one with the honey again.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite. If you really like honey, definitely give that one a try, but not my favorite. And time for a little bit of dessert.
The blueberries. What is this called?
Blueberry mascarpone cheesecake.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Alright, you're done. This is mine.
It's really cool that we can go on our own property and pick a ton of different type of berries.
You definitely have to work for them though, because a lot of them grow on the hillsides. I don't know why they grow on the hillsides so good, but that's where the majority of them are.
Yep, and it's really hard to see on camera, but they are extremely steep inclines, so you're kind of trying to balance and step over like stumps and logs at the same time you're picking berries down here. So we don't have the advantage of being up near the tundra where there's just mountainsides full of blueberries. Ours are kind of spread out, so we're walking quite a bit to get from patch to patch.
Yeah.
I do highly recommend picking berries in Alaska, but just be careful and know what you're picking before you pick it and eat it. There are poisonous berries in Alaska. Luckily, we actually didn't come across any on our property, but that doesn't mean that they're not here, but there are poisonous ones out there. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one.